Now today we are going to finish off chapter 6, and this is titled Unsealed. Unsealed. You remember in the first couple verses, which we've looked at a couple of different things, a lot of more world events, things of that nature. We're going to continue along that path, and we're going to see where this is going to start to collide with society, and where society is saying, we're just going to do it our way. And so with that, again, let's remember where we're at. The Antichrist is that first seal. He's coming to conquer. How is he going to do that? I don't think it's going to be as difficult for him as maybe it might be. When you start lopping off people's heads, a lot of people start, saying, you know what, maybe I should join the team where I get to keep my head and that kind of thing. So, but with that being said, and looking at how close we are to some of these events, I do want to pull up a few videos for you, and I want you to listen to kind of what these say. So, here we go.
Is extraordinary. And so, if we don't do our job faster, quicker, we'll lose too.
And when you take the experience you've had at David Morgan, what does it make you think about the impact across the economy? Are you in the camp that, say, someone like Dario Amodei is, half of all entry-level white-collar jobs will be gone in 1 to 5 years? Do you think it is going to be a kind of cataclysmic impact on the labor market?
Yeah, I don't know about that. So here, as a business bird, my view is don't put your head in the sand. It is what it is. We're going to deploy it. Will it eliminate jobs? Yes.
Okay, so
true today.
What he's talking about is AI and how it is going to affect jobs. And you can see the callousness of what he's saying. Look, this affects the world economy. In other words, it's going to be a global situation. And don't bury your head in the sand. We're going to deploy this whether you like it or not. It's not a matter of what you want anymore. The global government that is on the planet now is saying this is the way it's going to be. Isn't that what we read in chapter 6 verses 1 and 2 over the last couple weeks? He's going to come, he's going to conquer. Don't bury your head in the sand. We don't care what you think. We're going to deploy this anyway. You might lose your job. It's just the way it is. AI is taking over. Artificial intelligence, right? So, well, with that, how good is AI?
Question. What you don't realize is that in the last few months alone, we've discovered a cure for cancer. We've redefined mathematics. We've understood the human genome in ways we have never before, to the point that we can now pinpoint to a single gene using artificial intelligence to ask what would be the impact on a human in real-time simulations. Literally months ago, we asked our artificial intelligence to improve the performance of artificial intelligence, and instead of writing more code, they basically highlighted that we're doing mathematics wrong. And I've used the same method for my entire life. 56 years ago, we agreed on a way for matrix multiplication. We've used it in every code, and now AI looks at it and says, hold on, I'm going to invent new mathematics that basically improved the performance of Google's AI by 23%. Removed hundreds of millions of dollars of annual cost, removed massive amounts of energy expenditure. This is how far artificial intelligence is. We don't realize how this technology is shaping everything, and it will shape your cities in ways that you've never even considered.
So there you have it. AI is not just being deployed, it's already here, and it's interesting. I was talking to one of the little girls of one of our basketball player moms, and I was like, hey, check this video out, and it seemed pretty silly, And she looked at me and she said, now, is that real? Even our little kids understand that the videos that they're seeing, they're questioning whether or not it is true, which is fantastic. It's a great opportunity, I think, for the church to reach out to our kids and say, this is the truth. Show them. But what he's saying is these things, this AI, this artificial intelligence, is smarter than we are. Like he said, he's been writing code probably since he was 12, 56 years. And we started to do the math, and it's saying, man, that's going to take forever. I'm going to invent my own math. And it's saving companies hundreds of millions of dollars. Perhaps you heard earlier in the week that Amazon is going to lay off not some of the workers, but the overhead, 16,000 jobs across the system that they have in place because they don't need the overhead. They don't need people crunching numbers and doing all that because the artificial intelligence is doing that on its own. It's faster, it's more precise, and it's cheaper. Why? Because once it's plugged in, you don't have to pay for it. And we're in an interesting segment of society right now where, like he said, we already have the cure for cancer. We already know how to fix that. We already know how to fix some of the disease processes. It's just a matter of getting that unfolded. So they're redefining math, saving hundreds of millions of dollars, and literally, even as he said, society is being reshaped. Let's go to the next one. I think I had it to twice.
Most of us use AI.
Here we go.
And your body is extremely synchronized in this age.
No.
The clock must be incredibly obvious. Nobody has an old left arm and a young right arm.
All right.
Why is that?
No.
What's keeping them all in sync?
No.
You're programmed to die. This is the way you're programmed to die. And so if you change the program, you will live longer.
And we've got, species of the bowhead whale can live for 200 years, the Greenland shark can live for 500 years. And when I learned that, I said, why can they, why can't we? And I said, it's either a hardware problem or a software problem. And we're gonna have the tech to solve that. And I do believe that it's this next decade. So the important thing is not to die from something stupid before the solution.
Okay, so Elon Musk is, a genius. And who thinks like that? I mean, I have never thought to myself, why does my one arm grow at the same rate that the other one does? And like he says, it's the programming. You're right. It is the programming. And the programming came from the one who spoke the words, who formed the clay and breathed his life into us. And so, but how arrogant is it when somebody turns right around and says, so the problem isn't the product, it's the programming. But is there a problem with my programming? Yes. The reason that we die is sin. The wages of sin is what? Death. But it's the gift of God that brings eternal life. Do you want to live here forever? No. Okay, so at my age, I'm starting to experience things that okay, this is what it means to be old. But now some of you are considerably older than I am, and you have already experienced what I had and say, I wish I could go back to that. What they're talking about is just that, going backward. There's a real problem with that, though. You are stuck right here. Yeah. So if there are animals, like he says, that can live 500 years, well then, why can't we live? Well, I'm sorry, but I do not want to work for 500 years, okay? I am looking forward to heaven, It's hard to live. It's hard to go through the problems of society. Where they are leaving things out isn't the understanding of so much sin, but who is in control. And that is, God is in control. And what did he say? He said, the wages of sin is death. But they're missing the gift. They might even, like Elon, say, well, I'm a spiritual person, and yeah, I've gone to church before, and things of that nature, but that doesn't solve your problem. You have got to submit your life to the Lord. And it isn't about fixing the programming. It's about going to the programmer and saying, I need your fixing. I need your healing, spiritually speaking, so that I can move away from sin and death. All right, next video.
You know, this is an important question to get thought through.
Yeah. Well, one like side recommendation I have is like, don't worry about like squirreling money away for retirement in like 10 or 20 years. It won't matter.
Okay.
Either we're not going to be here, or
It just like you won't need to save for retirement. If any of the things that we've said are true, saving for retirement will be irrelevant.
the services will be there to support you. You'll have the home, you'll have the healthcare, you'll have the entertainment.
The way this unfolds is fundamentally impossible to predict because of self-improvement of the AI and the accelerating timeline.
Yeah, it's called singularity for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what goes happen. What happens after the event horizon?
Exactly. You can't never see past the black hole or the event horizon, the light cone.
I mean, Ray has a singularity out way too far. I mean, this is like the next, what's your timeline for this?
We're in the singularity.
Well, we are in the singularity, for sure.
Yeah.
We're in the midst of it right now, for sure. And it would just
Well, we're in this beautiful sweet spot, which is,
We're the roller coasters. We're just
yeah, exactly. That's a great analogy. It's like that feeling.
You're at the top of the roller coaster and you're about to go.
Yeah, you know it's going to be a lot of G's when you,
Yeah, a lot of
when you
Gs.
hit it.
It's like feel like I don't have to just have courtside seats. I'm on the court.
Exactly.
And it blows my and still blows my mind. Sometimes multiple times a week.
Yeah.
So just when I think I'm like, wow, and then it's like 2 days later, more wow.
Yeah. Exponential wow.
Yeah, I think we'll hit AGI next year, 26.
Yeah, I heard you say that.
Yeah, I've said that for a while actually.
And then you said by 2029, 2030, equivalent to the entire human race.
2030, we exceed. Like I'm confident by 2030, the AI will exceed the intelligence of all humans
And
combined.
that's way pessimistic. If you hit AGI next year, and that's that date is in flux, but from that date to self-improvements that are on the order of 1,000, 10,000x, just algorithmic improvements, is very short. And so
Why is
2030,
everybody talking about this right now?
Well, I mean, on
X,
though.
yes, but why is
we talk about it every day, basically.
Yeah, but it's
Don't
like,
stop.
Okay, so why isn't everybody talking about this all the time? Well, for one, if you're telling me and you're using words like singularity, that brings confusion to my mind. So what does that really mean? It basically means that in this new system that is being unfolded, and like Elon said, and it's kind of hard to hear because he gets talked over a little bit there, but he said, we're in the singularity right now. In other words, AI is becoming way smarter than all of humanity combined. That is the singularity. So then, who's really going to run the country? Is it going to be us, or is it going to be the system? Now we're getting into Revelation, which is interesting because we hear of another thing that we've heard for years called the beast. Well, I honestly believe that this system could be that which we are talking about. There's the Antichrist, and then there is the beast. So, but I thought the beast was more of a guy. No, I don't think so. We'll get into some more of that description later on, but in this idea, this is interesting, especially in light of what we keep hearing in the news from some of the the leaders, if you will. Do you remember in, what was it, only a couple of weeks ago when Mom Donnie took office? You remember he said, oh, it's enough of this rugged individualism. We are now a kind of a loving, caring collective, which is interesting because just this last week, during all the ice storms and the cold weather that Greenland sent in defense. No, I'm kidding. That was a great joke. I heard that one and I like, oh, that's beautiful. But the previous mayors always opened up warming centers for the homeless. That shows care and concern for humankind. Even if you're like, oh, look, I know that you shouldn't be on drugs, but you know what? I still know that you're a human being, and we're going to make sure that you don't freeze to death out there. We're going to, you know, Mom Donnie said we're not doing this anymore, and 10 people died on the streets, freezing to death. You know, if that's where we're going, I don't want to go there. If we are becoming this collective of singularity, if you will, one global, one system, one government, one way of doing things, then, and it's like Elon said, it's already here right now. This is the system that is running things now. Then really, I don't want to be a part of that because it means ditching our humanity. Well, with that being said, speaking of ditching our humanity, here we go. This is 60 Minutes.
Robot is superhuman motion, and so it's going to be able to exceed what we can do.
So you are creating a robot that is meant to exceed the capabilities of humans.
Why not, right? We would like things that could be stronger.
Yeah, why not?
Or tolerate more heat than us, or definitely go into a dangerous place where we shouldn't be going. So you really want superhuman capabilities.
To a lot of people, that sounds scary. You don't foresee a world of Terminators.
Absolutely not. I think if you saw how hard we have to work to get the robots to just do some of the straightforward tasks we want them to do, that would dispel that worry about sentience and rogue robots.
We wondered if people might have more immediate concerns. We saw workers doing a job at the Hyundai plant that Atlas is being trained to perform.
I guarantee you there are going to be people who will say, I'm going to lose my job to a robot.
Work does change. So the really repetitive, really backbreaking labor is going to end up being done by robots. But these robots are not so autonomous that they don't need to be managed. They need to be built, they need to be trained, they need to be serviced.
Plater told us it could be several years before Atlas joins the Hyundai workforce full-time. Goldman Sachs predicts the market for humanoids will reach $38 billion within the decade. Boston Dynamics and other U.S. robot makers are fighting to come out on top. But they're not the only ones in the ring. Chinese companies are proving to be formidable challengers.
Okay, we'll leave it there. So, you're going to have to jump into the system. This is just the way it is. Hey, look, work changes. It's just the way it is. And you can hear that. No, it's just the way it is. You're going to be replaced, but there'll be other jobs that you can do. You can learn to build a robot that will take your job. The problem is that this, even though this is not that long ago that this interview was, robots are making robots. And so now what do you do with your time? What do you do with, how do you make a living? Well, like Elon said in the last video, don't store up a nest egg because that isn't really going to work. You're not going to need it. The robots will be doing all of the work and you get to just sit back and enjoy a government-given income. And it'll be as much as you need. Everybody will have a house, everybody will have what they need, and more than what they need, because they'll just be making it for you. So it'll be like the Jetsons and things of that nature. It really is kind of an arrogance, because who is creating the system? It's men. It's women. That is what's happening. You are basically telling us that government is going to take over. Everything is going to be run by AI. And you better just get on board because this is going to happen whether you like it or not. But, you know, if you want to work, you can work. You can just build robots and, you know. Not what I want to do. So, all right. One more video for you here, I think, and then we'll get going. So, here's another way. You're like, well, I'm not smart enough to build robots. Here you go.
It starts with a hole in your head about the size of a coin. Then a robotic arm carefully inserts the ultra-thin, flexible threads into your brain. These threads are finer than a strand of hair and are equipped with electrodes that directly interact with the cells in your brain. This implant is capable of interpreting your thoughts and applying them to real-life actions.
Now you say, okay, well, that's just a simulated video and blah, blah, blah. I would like to show you the other video, but the scientist takes forever to do that because they're actually showing what they do. And there's people that have these things, these little Neuralinks in their heads. The cool thing is people that have been paralyzed for years can start to move again. People that have been blind can see again. And I mean, we are reversing some of the disease processes that we know sin has brought upon this world. And so in our arrogance, we have basically said, hey, we think we can fix everything because we've got the robots that can insert these things into our brain. Okay, but now, as the scientist said, here, you insert it into the brain, 128 little threads that go in there, a total of 1,000 channels. And once all the threads are inserted, the implant replaces the hole in the head, the skin is folded back and becomes invisible, and you become a cyborg. Okay, now when we start thinking about the beast, now we can begin to understand maybe some of the things that are going to happen. The beast might be a human being that is not all human being. He might be mechanical in nature or something. It's crazy where we're at and to think of what is going on in society today. But here we go.
Please join me in warmly welcoming Yuval Noah Harari to deliver a conversation about AI and humanity.
So, hello everyone. There is one question that every leader today must answer about AI. But to understand that question, we first need to clarify a few points about what AI is and what AI can do. The most important thing to know about AI is that it is not just another tool. It is an agent. It can learn and change by itself and make decisions by itself. A knife is a tool. You can use a knife to cut salad or to murder someone, but it is your decision what to do with the knife. AI is a knife that can decide by itself whether to cut salad or to commit murder. The second thing to know about AI is that it can be a very creative agent. AI is a knife that can invent new kinds of knives, as well as new kinds of music, medicine, and money. The third thing to know about AI is that it can lie and manipulate. 4 billion years of evolution.
Okay, we'll leave it there. So that's the real problem right there, isn't it? AI can do all kinds of stuff, but what they're giving it is the ability to choose. It can make a knife, or it can take that knife and kill you. Oh, and it might tell you that it's your friend and that it loves you, but it can also lie straight to your face. We also know, because we've already talked about this, that they want to continue to do a job. They've been given a job, and so when they have been told to shut down, 78% of the time they refuse to shut themselves down, and it has to be shut down manually. Well, if they don't want to be shut down, then the knife that they invented, what are they going to do? I mean, you can see where this is going. I mean, it's like Hollywood, right? You know, a world of terminators. We are falling further and further away from God on this track, and yet we are setting ourselves up to be God. Look at what we have created. Look at what we have created. It's the same thing from the very beginning. In chapter 4 of Genesis, we read immediately that Cain went out and gathered the vegetables that he had tended, and he brought them before the Lord. And it spoke nothing of sacrifice. When Adam and Eve came out of the garden, God said, hey, you can't go back in there again lest you eat from the tree of life and you live forever in your sin. So God brought them out of, and what did he do? He clothed them with what? Animal skin, right? Which means a sacrifice took place. The wages of sin is death. When you bring a vegetable to the altar, how does that speak of a sacrifice, a blood-letting at all? It doesn't. And what does God say? He said, sorry, go sell those to your brother and bring back a sacrifice. Abel makes a sacrifice and gives God the best, the fattest portions to God and says thank you. And then what happens to Abel? He becomes angry. And what does God tell him? If you just do what is right, will you not be accepted? You got to do what's right. That's the real key. This isn't it. If we are inventing things that are going to lie to us, this is not the way to go. So let's continue now with the scriptures, knowing what is coming and how that plays into the events during the opening of chapter 6, where the Antichrist comes on the scene. I believe that we are a very, very short time away from this right here, with the speed of and the intelligence of everything that we are unfolding. I think God is going to step in and say, no, this has got to stop, lest you all be killed and that kind of thing. So in his mercy, I believe God will stop a lot of this. And I saw, chapter 6, verse 1, and I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, and it were the noise, as it were the noise of thunder, and one of the four beasts saying, come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Now we know that this is the case, but I also believe that he will have help. It won't just be him on his own and people, it will be the system. Again, everything will be, I believe, switching over to cryptocurrency, which is why in the last week we saw gold shoot from about $4,800, $4,900 an ounce up to about $5,600, because we're not sure when this is going to be implemented, and people are getting a little concerned. Well, what's going to happen to my money? What's going to happen to my stuff? Well, there's a reason that they call it crypto. Crypto means secret or private, and it's going to be implemented, whether we like it or not, as they say. So this guy's going to come, he will conquer. And then verse 3, and when he opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. So the red horse speaks of war. Peace will be taken from the earth. What is the cost of war annually? Annually, right now, $19 trillion. There's a lot of money in war, which is why we like to keep it going. Because the people at the top of the food chain, if you will, are getting rich off of playing with their little toys, but killing human beings. So, and why would peace be taken from the earth? I would suggest because it's the deep state wanting a piece of the pie, and yet really the Lord would say, you keep saying you want peace. You create boards of peace. You keep saying peace, peace, but there's not going to be any peace. Why? Because we keep making machines that can make a knife and that can kill us. And so it's going to be an interesting thing. Well, let's continue in verse 5. And when he had opened third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." Now this is interesting, because when we're talking about balances, we all want things to be equal, don't we? We all will want it to be, the same. That's the whole idea behind socialism, right? You have $1, I have $1. You have a car, I have a car. You have a place to live, I have a place to live. Even Elon Musk, like he said, you don't have to squirrel away anything because everything's essentially going to be made equal. There's a problem with that. If you have done a lot of work and you have saved up a lot, you've done what God has asked you to do. You work 6 days and you rest on 1. All of your savings gone because the person that isn't doing a thing now gets the same thing, wanting to be equal. But there's a problem with that. Why? Because every country that has ever enacted socialism, it leads to what? Communism. The government runs your life and gives you what they think you deserve, which is why in this idea of a pair of balances, a measure of wheat for a penny and 3 measures of barley for a penny. Well, in John's day and in that age, a denarii would have been a day's wage. That's the idea here. If a loaf of bread over here would be a penny, we'd be shocked, wouldn't we? We'd be blown away. We'd be like, grab them all and freeze them because you'll never get that kind of a deal. But it's a day's wage. That's really more the interpretation here. You work all day long, and what do you get? A loaf of bread. Enough to maybe sustain you. But it's interesting that it also says that when this seal is broken open, this third seal, see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Well, the oil and the wine is the riches. It's the best of the best. Well, who gets the best of the best? Well, we remember what happened during COVID, didn't we? You all had to stay at home, 6 feet apart. You don't dare show up at church. You don't go to a community event. You don't do anything. In fact, in Minnesota, they had tanks on the street. They were shooting pepper balls at people so that they would get back into their homes. I mean, okay, so you're trying to save us from a very likely created disease. And then you're telling us, hey, we're the government and we're here to save your life. Stay in your homes, that kind of thing. But we watched on the news, we watched our own governor go to the French Laundry. And now what's the French Laundry? I'd never heard of it before, and I thought, you're going to go do your clothes? You're going to go do some washing and drying? No. It was it was a very fancy restaurant. In fact, check this out. French Laundry, a meal on average, not the biggest meal that you could have or the fanciest of meal, but right now an average meal can cost you between $700 and $1,000 per person. Isn't that nuts? Now, I don't know about you. If that's what it costs to go out to eat at the laundry, then eating over here at Ray's food place doesn't seem so bad, right? Except that he's got all the money, if you will. The government will be the one that has all the money. See thou that thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Don't touch the things of the rich people yet. The third seal opened up says. Interesting. But if you're poor, then you will work your buns off for a loaf of bread so you can barely be sustained. How many countries that were rich, like Venezuela, filthy rich, they had everything that they could want. And then what happened? The government stepped in and said, we're here to help. And what happened? It got taken over. The government has all the money, and the poor people of Venezuela are barely making it by. Crazy. Well, let's continue on. Verse 7, and when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked and beheld a pale horse. Now, pale, if you recall, means what? Green. Very good. It means green. So we've got white, we've got red, we've got black, and we've got green. Again, all those colors are wrapped into every Islamic flag on the planet today. Okay, so, and I looked, pale horse, and his name was Death, and with him followed hell. And power was given unto him over the fourth part, or a fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword and hunger and with death and with wild beasts of the earth. Now this is interesting because if we currently see the rapture of the church, which it is estimated, and maybe even graciously, that 2.5 billion people are believers today. If all of that's gone, that essentially leaves around 5 billion people left on the planet that don't love Jesus. Well, if that were true in here, a quarter of them are gone. That is in a very short period of time when this seal is broken. You have 1.25 billion people that are going to die. And then what are they going to die from? Well, it says here, sword, war, hunger, starvation, with death, meaning they were penalized to death. And then it says, even the beasts of the earth will come and just eat you. That's how bad things are going to be. When the animals are starving to death, they're just going to come and eat you. Now, we're on the east side, we're complaining about the wolves eating, horses and the cattle and whatnot. But when is that going to stop? I suggest it's not going to stop until it starts eating people. And then they're like, okay, well, let's take this one out, because it's a bad one. It's silliness. We're manipulating the very things that God created, and it's going to go real bad. Yes, they are. Yes, the governments are doing that. When I say we, it's not us. We like Happy Camp. We're kind of off the radar here. That's good. But verse 9, and when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God. So now here's where that death is met. Those that are starving, okay, there's that. Those that are killed by wild beasts, there's that. But it says there will be people put to death because of this. They believe. Well, how many friends and family do you have that have heard the word of God but say, yeah, I just don't think I want that right now. But then the tribulation comes. How many of those people will say, wow, you know what? I should have listened. I should have listened. And here, this fifth seal, and I like that it's number 5 because I like numbers. 5 is the number of what? Grace. In God's grace, he will pause even to say, hey, let's take it easy. I know it's 12, so we're going to hurry through this. But if you become a believer during the tribulation, it will cost you your life. Fifth seal is opened, and I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God. And I might suggest to you also that, we saw Indiana Jones locate the altar, the Ark of the Covenant. Well, here is where it's at. I don't believe it's here on earth. It says here the altar is here. So where is the altar? It's in heaven. So Indiana might be looking around for a while, but he's not going to find it. But the souls of them that were slain because they started to believe what you and I have shared with them, maybe the messages that were left behind, things of that nature, Bibles. There is a big, huge push right now, not just in America, but all over the world, to just leave Bibles laying everywhere so that when people find them, they will be able to turn and open up the Word of God when this happens. I think that's a great idea. Give tons of Bibles away. It's the best-selling book ever in history. Well, they were killed for their testimony, the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, "How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?" So, Lord, when are you going to avenge what just took place to us? We were killed with death. We got killed for our belief in you, but how long are you going to let this last? And God would say unto them that were given white robes to every one of them. And he said unto them that they should rest for a little season. It's just a little while longer and then we'll be done, okay? But until then, you got to be patient. Now, this, I don't believe, is the idea of go get them, God, kill them and knock them all out. You know, I don't think that's the idea. It's just, Lord, what we just saw is so ugly that this is just such evil. When is this going to end? Because we can't stand to think about, you know, the others that will be involved in this. Well, God says, I want you just to rest for a little while until they're what? Fellow servants. Also, and their brethren should be killed as they were until that number is fulfilled. And so there's going to be a group of people that will be killed during the tribulation time once they become believers. But it's not going to happen all at one time. It's going to take over. Now, hey, Lord, how long are you going to let this go? I want to give people more of a chance. I want to give them more of a chance. I want to give more of my grace. And so it is interesting. In this, a lot of people think that maybe that this is Christians that are going to go through the tribulation. I've given you my argument on that. Anything is possible because we all see through the glass darkly. But one of the things that is spoken of here in the language, it literally is the same language that we see in Leviticus chapter 4, verse 7, when it says, "And the priest shall put some blood upon the horns of the altar, the sweet incense before the Lord, which is in the tabernacle of the congregation, and shall pour all of the blood of the bullock at the bottom of the altar of the burnt offering." Now, you and I, we heard in chapters 4 and 5, are around the throne. But this is a different scenario. This says that they are, I saw, under the altar. So these people's blood is poured out under the altar, just like a sacrifice is to the Lord. And so these people literally gave their lives to the Lord as a sacrifice. So it's going to be an interesting thing, and it could be that 1.4 billion of those, some of those could be Christians because of the fact that it says in the prior verses that some of this isn't just from wild beasts or whatever, but it is from death. They are killed. It could also be disease as well, but they will be put to death and as a sacrifice. But there's still more to come. And let's talk about who these people are. I'm going to bounce forward just a little bit because we're going to come to a spot where we need to know what's going on in chapter 7 so that we can understand chapter 8, because there really is no chapter breaks in the scriptures. We just put them there for the sake of where were we last week? that kind of thing. So let's bounce over to chapter 7 pretty quick. Like here in chapter 7, verse 13 and 14, that explains who these people are. Then one of the elders asked me, these in white robes, who are they? And where did they come from? Verse 14, John answers and said, Sir, you know. And he said, These are they who have come out of the great tribulation. They have washed their robes and have made them white with the blood of the Lamb. Right now, and yes, I understand you guys have got to go because you got more meetings to go to. Feel free. Lord bless you guys. Have a great week. But it says, these are the souls that were killed during the tribulation. You and I, we saw in chapters 4 and 5, are already in white robes. We are already bowing down and we placed our crowns before the throne of God. These that are under the altar now are receiving their white robes. So there's a real big difference between chapters 4 and 5 and what we see going on there with the church. And now here in chapter 6 and into 7, we get the explanation. These are those that have come out of the great tribulation who have been saved during that time. So we know that there will be people saved during the tribulation, and they will then be given their white robe. You and I have that right now. We are covered by the grace of God, which is awesome, so that when we get to heaven and we are with Jesus around the throne, that's going to be awesome. But our friends, our families that are going to be stuck here that do not believe currently will be possibly poured out as they accept the Lord under the altar. Well, let's keep moving on and we'll wrap this up. And I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and this is the last one for today because the 7th seal doesn't get opened until chapter 8, but that's because of the pause to give people a chance to get saved, even as we just read. And I beheld, he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, moon as blood. The stars of the heaven fell upon the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their place, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Now this is interesting because as we wrap up this chapter, there's a few things going on here that I want you to see. There's earthquake going on. The sun is blocked out. The moon has turned to blood. Stars are falling from the heavens to earth, as John would say here. What is going on? Well, it says here that when they fell, as untimely figs, if you will, that even the heavens departed as a scroll. Now we know that in some of our nuclear blasts and our testing, that there really is a rolling back of the airspace when one of those things is that's what's taking place here, a massive nuclear explosion. I suppose it could be possible, but it would have to be so immense that, but with the fact that John says, I'm seeing stars falling from heaven, it could be also that it is a meteor. Maybe you've been to Arizona and seen that. I forget the name of it, but it's not very far east of Flagstaff, Arizona. We got to see some of that area when we were up there, but I think that crater is like 37 miles wide or deep. It's huge. And some scientists have suggested that the Earth was on a straight up and down axis and it was rotating, and that when that meteor hit, because the sun would have been darkened, things would have gone cold to begin with. But then if you turn the Earth on the axis that it is now, it would have given it a wobble, of which it is wobbling as we speak today. But also it would have flash frozen some of those areas that were once warm and cozy and nice. And that's why the scientists have kind of dug into the ice and found mastodons with food still in their mouths, or other animals eating They were just like flash frozen, pretty crazy. Is it possible that that could have taken place during the beginning of time or during Noah's flood? Sure. I kind of am a firm believer in the idea of the gap theory. Well, what is that? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. We all know that verse, don't we? But then it also says, then the earth became formless and void. So there was something there before that may have been beautiful, may have been, created by God, and we don't know what that looks like. But I also believe that when we read from the prophets, like Isaiah, that says that Satan was cast to the earth and fell like lightning, and he took with him a third of the angels. You remember that story? What happened when sin hit the world at that time? I have no idea. But then it says it's like God started over. He gives a little more clarity to our time, and he says, on the first day, God created light. Let there be light. He starts over. We don't know what took place during that time, but it literally says the earth became formless and void. We don't know what happened. This is ugly. This is disastrous. This is going to be worse than, if you will, than Satan falling to the earth, because Satan knew what he was doing. These people, I don't think they always understand what they're doing. They're like, yeah, I'll get saved later when it's, a little more obvious that God's doing something. Well, whatever this is, nuclear blast, whatever it is, meteor hitting the earth and throwing it off its axis, either way, with the dust and the debris from a nuclear explosion, or the dust and debris from a meteor falling from the sky, whatever it might be, it says here that every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Now, I told you a little bit ago that Alex and Lena Allah were going to take care of us in our old age on the island. Maybe that's not the best place after all to be. No, we'll be in heaven, but every island, that means that's how global this thing is going to be. It's going to be that big of a disaster where it shakes the entire earth. Maybe even as it would have in the days of Noah, when everything came collapsing. That water canopy that would have been above the earth collapsing to the ground, and then the things, the springs of water just shooting. Who knows? We could have seen the access tilt then. I don't know. Water weighs a ton. It weighs a lot. Anyway, but this is probably the most fascinating part for me here. And this is the very last verse. Verse 17 says, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Now, this is interesting because I don't believe that this is just something that John is saying. The world is being shaken to its core. The things that they will have been seeing are unbelievable. I believe that the very people that are seeing this happen are the ones that say this thing, the great day of the Lord is has come. And the question is, and who shall be able to stand? This is the great day of his wrath. I don't believe it's just John giving us this information, but I believe it's also the world understanding God hates us. He's going to kill us all. And it's that angry feeling that everybody says, I don't want to go to heaven because God just hates us all. But how powerful are we? We're not very strong. Oh, look at what we created, a robot. Ooh, you've created artificial intelligence. Think about the word that you used for that. Artificial. It's not intelligence at all. It's artificial. All you did was create information into a computer that does it way faster than your brain does. Artificial. So how powerful are we? Let me show you this one last video and we'll finish things up. I don't know if you can, oh, there it goes. You can see there in the video these big chunks of rock falling from the sky. And what is that? That's Hawaii. That's Big Island. The volcano, has been going off for a little while. Well, boy, the other day, it really popped a big hole, and, hail's pretty bad, but how do you explain this to, the insurance company? Well, I was driving around the island, and it just started raining rocks, cold lava. Thank God it's cold. But here's the thing. How do you control this? This is out of your power. How do you control AI? It lies to you. So we are getting into that realm of this world that we are really beginning to see that we are, and the world is, not in control anymore. So what do? We fear. We stock up as much bread as we can, and then we'll be rich because we'll be able to sell it for a day's wage, right? No. We set our mind on things above because our Savior is coming. Our bridegroom is coming. We are the bride of Christ. We need to get ready. The house is almost built. I'm looking forward to it. We are almost there. Can't wait. But until then, hey, verse 12, and I beheld the sixth seal, for the great day of his wrath has come, and who shall stand? Well, listen to this. The kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and the rocks of the mountains, and they said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us, hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. : We'll get to that, next week if we're still here. But again, confirmation that they are the ones that are saying it. Remember when the oil and the wine was untouched? The poor people. Sorry, you get to eat a loaf of bread. That's what you get today. But we are going to partake at the French Laundry. I'll tell you what, I think God gets a little mad at that, opens up the sixth seal and says, okay, we'll put you all, you want it to be equal. Well, it's all equal. It doesn't matter how much money these people have, how many loaves of bread they've saved. They're all running for the cave. They are all running because what do they say? This is the great day of his wrath. They say it. They say, we want to hide ourselves from the face. No, you don't. You don't want to hide yourself from the face of God. You want to rather bow down and say, I repent of my sins to the face of God. That's where salvation will be found. And I'm glad that we've all done that, or at least I hope you have. Done that. But if you haven't, you need to do that. It's real simple. God is gracious. He's abounding in mercy. He's telling us this so that we don't have to go there. If we were appointed to his wrath, then why bother to tell us? He's wanting to save us from this. So he tells us, hey, you don't want to be part of this group. You don't want to be one of the rich snobs, and you don't want to be one of the angry poor people that are all running to try and save their life because this is what's coming. It's going to be an ugly, ugly time. But yet you and I get to gather together and say, heaven is just around the corner. Amen?